What is good, everybody? It is Thursday, lunchtime. Lunchtime on a Thursday. We're here. We're hanging out. We are talking Dynasty Fantasy Football. What is good? Third and Dynasty. How you doing, my guy? Andrew, what is up, man? It is good to have you guys here. I'm not going to lie. It's good to be here. It's good to hang out with you guys. There's something about hanging out with like-minded people, right? Like-minded people that are just like, look, I get it. Super Bowl was 2 weeks ago, and we're just chilling. We're just chilling, but we still want to talk about fantasy football. I love it. I love it. Caught the Tear Down episode. Glad you're back on the Ken Walker wagon. I saved you a seat. Look, the offensive coordinator change and who they brought in did make a big difference for me. I wasn't sold on him, but at the end of the day, it's touches. It's touches, and it sounds like he's going to get them. Alex, what's good, my guy? Garrison, how you doing? Feel like that's like almost like Garrett, but not. Like we're almost the same, but we're different. But we're the same. You're probably super cool. That's my guess. You're probably super cool. I mean, honestly, if you're on here and you're hanging out with us, chances are you're super cool. That's to be expected. Tristan, what's good, homie? Good to have you in here, my guy. It is a nerd alert. A nerd alert. All right. So today we are just going to be hanging out and I'm answering questions. We don't have any drafts to get to. We don't have any specific topic, running backs, rookies, whatever. We don't have a lot that we need to get to right now. Now, speaking of Tristan, I'm in a startup right now with him. Actually, with a bunch of the Dynasty nerds and a lot of writers. Rich is on it as well. Tristan is one of them. So, see, Rich is asking me what time we're doing our show today. I'm gonna have to tell him I'm in the middle of a show. Let's see. I'm doing the live show now, but I'll hit you up after. Look at this. You think he would know? Pete, I don't have to trade for the 1-1 on the show because I already have the 1-1. Already have it. I'll tell you guys about that. Boom. All right, let's get to our first question here. Oh, from the Dynasty Invitational League. No. I am going to rebuild. I've made the playoffs every year since its inauguration. I've been in first place many times, but just haven't been able to win that ship. It's time to blow things up, Pete. Time to blow things up. Andrew says, Garrett, I am in a bunch of dynasty leagues with a lot of the same friends. We are doing a super flex standard scoring to shake things up. Whoa. So you get the quarterback, but no PPR. Very interesting. Where do you take Ashton Genty in a standard format? Well, if his rookie, he's still 1-1, obviously. If anything, this only helps him. Running backs gain value in standard formats. And I would still be taking him above the quarterbacks. But if you're talking about in the startup draft, then I would say, so for what it's worth, in this Dynasty Nerds League that I was just talking about, I did take the 1-1, which I'm intending on taking Ashton Genty, assuming he doesn't like anything crazy happen. I had the 10th pick. No, the 11th pick. I had the 11th pick in the draft. So that means I had 2-2 in the second round, and I took him there. 2-2 in the second round. Now, that was probably the highest I'd be willing to take him. But for me, especially if I'm doing a draft before the NFL draft, which this is, I do not want those running backs. I want the sure thing top end guys, or give me a bunch of the upside players late, like 8th, 9th round on, 0 RB type style. So I was able to get running backs early. So I went with running backs early. So I would be willing to take him in that same same range. And I think the only receivers in that type of format where you don't get the PPR that I would not be willing to take him ahead of are probably Chase and Jefferson. I'd be willing to take him ahead of any of those other guys. All right, let's see. Peaches. What is everyone doing with Worthy this offseason? Worried about Rice coming back, or was the breakout real? What can you even get for him? That's the tricky part. I think selling him now, everyone's a little bit skeptical. And I would expect that Rice is the lead guy when he comes back. So I just don't think you're going to get probably what he's worth. So I would probably say hold. I would say probably hold. Lucas, Rich, I'm in too many leagues. Does more startups. It's the life of a Dynasty fan. It's the life of a Dynasty fan. You're always like, oh, I'm in too many leagues. I can't do anymore. And then the right startup comes along and you're like, well, maybe I'd do it. Maybe I'd do it. Blake, what's the vibe on Jaden Reed? Do we think he's a hold or are we trying to move off of him? Blake, I think he's dropped a lot in people's minds and rankings. I still think he's a very talented player. He's just going to be hit and miss. So because of that, like, I'm not trying to necessarily move off of him because you're going to have to sell him for low wide receiver 3, high wide receiver 4 type prices. And I would rather just hold him at that point. I would rather just hold him. Yeah, I'm excited for the pre-NFL draft as well. Tatum, Pacheco for the 2.8. Ooh. I mean, both of those are volatile assets. I think there's a high likelihood that we see the Chiefs draft somebody in the first 2 days. So because of that, but I don't love the 2.8. I'd probably take the 2.8 and then use that to move up higher in the draft. Tristan says, my question, how high do you think Cam Scattaboo could be in your rankings and how low if he tests poorly? Part of it is I'm already expecting him to test poorly. It's kind of like the Kyron Williams thing where we expected him to not test well, and then he didn't test well, and then everybody kind of double counted it and moved him down in the rankings. Now, I get that he tested worse than even expected, so that was why, but look, as long as Scattaboo isn't like a 4.75 in the 40, and he looks like he's moving well and all that stuff, like, he's not going to be moving much. So he's probably going to be in my ranking somewhere between 9 and 12 is where he'll probably be for me. Now, if he does test real poorly, he would move down my pre-draft ranks, but still not a crazy amount. He'd probably be in the 201 to 203 range. Unless he's running like a 5 flat, then obviously there just becomes a point where you just can't. But I think that's probably the lowest he would test. Now, it'll be more about where does he get drafted? Like, if NFL teams say, yeah, we don't care about that, we're taking him late second or we're taking him early third. Or if teams are like, yeah, we're a little worried about him as an athlete, we're going to take him with the third to last pick of the 4th round. Like, okay, I'm a little worried there. Zach, if you wanted to sell Amon-Ra with a wide receiver heavy team, what what would you want to contend? What would you want in return? Okay, so I would probably be looking at one of those top tier running backs, Bijan, Gibbs, Ashton Genty. That's what I'm looking to get. So those are the names that I'm floating out there. That's who I'm seeing if I can get. Ryan, if the Bengals don't draft a running back, where would you rank Chase Brown? Ooh, if the Bengals don't draft somebody, I'd be surprised because I think almost every team is going to be walking out of the draft with a running back. Now, will it be on day 1 or day 2, or will it be on day 3? That's the bigger question. But I think there's so many running backs in this class. Like, running backs that were getting taken mid-third last year are going in the early fifth. Like, that's roughly what it seems like. It's pretty crazy. So that being said, I would probably say for Chase Brown, if like we don't get anybody like sure late fifth, early sixth guy, whatever. Like, if that's the case, I would say he's probably around 10, 11 for me. Probably 10 or 11. Absolutely, Andrew. Happy to help my guy. Charlie says, what are we supposed to do with Travis Hunter? Can you run through the possible situations with him? What about IDP leagues? What if he happens to play primarily defense, offense? All right, so Travis Hunter is one of the trickiest situations in this draft. As of right now, all signs are indicating that he is going to be primarily a corner. If that is the case, let's go under that assumption first. If that is the case, where he's primarily a corner but has some offensive packages, highest I could see me taking him is like mid-second, and that's the absolute highest. More likely late second. If it's an IDP league, do I get credit for what he does offensively and defensively? Or is it like what happened with Shohei Ohtani a few years ago, where they're only going to give you credit for one side of the ball? That's a big question too. But if he's doing both, I mean, you could talk in your rookie drafts, you could talk into him being battling with Ashton Genty towards the top. Because if you're getting points on both sides of this, that could be huge. So now, if he's just a defensive guy, I don't play too many IDP leagues to say where I would rank him amongst the other defensive players in this class would be hard for me to do. But those are my two perspectives on him from a traditional standpoint or with offensive players in IDP. JSN, Olave, or Tet McMillan. I can easily say Olave is the last of that group. It would probably, for me today, go JSN, Tet, Olave. But it is very close between JSN and Tet. Alex, if I'm an RB needy on the way out of a rebuild, should I try and swap my 226 first and get into this 25 class? Depends on how high up you can get, but yes, this is a class for running backs. There'll be a couple next year too. It's not like it's devoid of talent, but this is the class that you want to get. So I would say, yeah, if you can get into the 105, 106 range, even as late as 108, I don't know that I'd go much later than 108. Probably be the latest. Tristan, who do you think has the best team so far in our startup? Tristan, I'll have to go back and look and get back to you on that one later, because it's interesting to see the ways different people have gone about it. So in the startup we're doing, teams can be eliminated from the league. Like, owners can be fired and new owners come in and replace them. So some teams have gone with a strategy of like, I don't necessarily care about winning. I just don't want to be last. And so it's skewed a little bit of it. So I'm going to have to like spend some time getting in there. Copel, what's up, man? What do you need to tear down from Kyler to Dak? I also have Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. I don't need a crazy amount personally because I don't have them super far apart in my rankings. I think they're only 2 quarterback spots away. But for a lot of people, I think it would take close to a first. I don't know that it would take a first, but I think it would be close to the value of a first. All right. Hey, Garrett, what are your thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr.? I traded Rome, Pickens, plus, and all I've heard is Rome hype. So it's got me desperate for some good Marvin Harrison Jr. hype. Look, I get the Rome hype, and I'm one of them hyping him up. I love Rome Odunze. But I think this is probably the best time to go get a Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison had a good rookie season. We've just come to expect great rookie seasons out of our wide receivers because of how spoiled we've been over the past half decade. That's not been the norm up until recently. So all that being said, I would not despair. I would say absolutely you should feel good about Marvin Harrison Jr. Whoa. We had somebody just give us a little gift. Look at this guy. All right, Matt, I see you. I'm going to get to your question right now. All right, Matt says 1 QB, start 8. Team is Jaden Daniels, Bijan, Jalen Wright, Neighbors, Rice, Marvin Harrison Jr., Downs, Ferguson. I have 102. Trade up for the 101 or take Tet and load up on my wide receiver core. So you've got a pretty solid wide receiver core. Looks like you don't have quite as much at the running back position. For what it's worth, especially in a start 8, starting lineup is the most important. That's what I care about most. Like, depth is cool and all, but you win because of the starting lineup. So with that being said, I am absolutely trying to trade up to 101. And I actually, in fact, in a start 10, just recently traded up to 101. And what I did was, so it's weird because I have a team that is now a contending team, but I have the 102. So it's kind of a weird situation. But what I did, because I expect to contend, I took my 26 first, and I'll give you my 26 first to move up one spot. Seems like a lot. Seems like an overpay. But all of that being said, I think that is totally fine, especially in a one quarterback. When you look at the difference that an elite running back can give you, basically, what would it be worth to trade 102 plus what to get Bijan, Gibbs, Devon Achane? Like, right away, he's going to be in a similar range very, very quickly. Even Breece Hall. Like, and I'm not quite as high as others on Breece Hall, but yeah, absolutely. Starting offer is 102 plus a contending team's first for 101. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, Matt. I think that is a very savvy move. Very savvy move. All right. Thomas. RJ Harvey has been ranked as high as RB4 by some folks. You had a chance to really dig into his tape. Thomas, I have good news for you. I have dug into his tape. Now, RB4 is very, very rich for me. Like, that's too rich for my blood. Now, I have graded most of the running backs at this point. The only big-ish names that I have not graded: DJ Giddens, Trevor Etienne, Bashal Tootin, Khalil Mullings. So, like, I've done basically all of the big names because all of those guys, best case, one or two might sneak into the top 10. Right now, for me today, I have, let me see. Let me make sure I got this right. I have RJ Harvey as my one, two. I have him at running back 14. So I would be a little bit lower than consensus on, sorry, 13. 13. I forgot. I'm mixed those up. So yeah, I have him at running back 13. So I'm fairly high on him compared to, like, when I look at the scores, like, he's got a good nerd score for me. It's just this class is unreal. Like, that's the hard part in this class is just really good. So when I'm trying to figure out how to take all of these guys, I can't. Like, I can't get them all in my top 10 as much as I want to put them all in my top 10. I just can't. So I think that's the tricky part in all of it, is as good as I think he is, I can't quite get him in my top 10. I have him at 13, but that's about the best I can do at this point. But dude, for what it's worth, I already have, what is it? Oh, no. Yeah, I have 11 guys I have 11 players higher than that would be at the same score or better. Actually, no, I'm saying this weird. If we were to make the cutoff at a 72.5 in my nerd score for my rankings, this is all pre-draft tape only. I have 11 players over a 72.25. Last year, I had 4 at the running back position. 11 versus 4. So this is no knock against RJ Harvey. It's just a stupid good class. Does that make sense? Like, it's just really good. So, okay. All right, let's keep it going. What are you doing with your favorite Williams share these days? Hoping he lands somewhere and is in a good committee role. Like that's what I'm hoping for him. You got to hold. He's not worth trading right now. I'm in a startup and we're in the 14th round and he hasn't gone. So if that just kind of tells you where some people are at on him, not the best. Not the best. Jason, 10 team, half point, super flex. I have Baker, Purdy, A-Rich, and Geno at quarterback, offering Geno, Jonathan Brooks, 110 and 207 for JJ McCarthy, Mingo, 301 and 401. Is this enough for JJ or do I need to have more? I think that's fine for a first offer because 110 for him would be somewhat close and you're giving Geno as well. So I think that's a pretty good offer, to be honest. I wouldn't add too much. Been offered Rome and 108 for Harrison. Is that enough? Oh, man, that's tough. Ooh, that's tough. In this class, I think it's enough. It's close. Yeah, almost everybody's drafting running back. You're absolutely right. What do you think I can get for Dalton Kincaid? Bag of Doritos? Like, you're not going to get much from him right now. You almost have to hold. 12 team Superflex PPR start 10, trying to compete. Traded Kincaid, Spears, 2-6, 212 for Tyreek, Kamara, Derek Carr, and Kelsey. Thoughts? Love it. It's a great trade to try to contend. Will these assets basically be nothing by 2026? You basically got 1 year with all these assets, maybe 2 on some of them if you're lucky. Yeah. But are they going to help you win? Yeah. Is Kincaid, Spears, 206 and 212 helping you win? No. So I think it's a fantastic move. Tristan, I just posted my rookie wide receiver article. I don't think working out with the DBs is anything overly convincing of what he's going to do. It's all about who takes him. Tristan, I know you've been on that train forever that you think he's going to be mainly a wide receiver. I hope he is. It gives us more dynasty assets. But I just remember that report from Jay Glazer that said 13 of the 14 or 14 of the 15 GMs he interviewed said that they would take him primarily as a corner. And so until I see somebody do it differently, I'm not risking taking him in my rookie drafts. If somebody's going to prove that they're going to play him at receiver, yeah, he's moving way up my rankings. But until then, I can't take a risk like that. But Tristan, curious, where would you take him today, not knowing? I genuinely, like, I'm curious, where would you take him today, knowing that there's a risk that he gets no more than 10 snaps a game at receiver? All right. Be different fitness and nutrition. Love that cross there. I'm over my limit on how many I could keep, but nobody wants to trade our second or third for these players that I'm trying to offload to stay under the limit. What should I do? Mason, Lloyd, Benson, Tillman. Whew. I'd feel pretty comfortable getting rid of. The only one that like somewhat worries me is Benson. I'd be willing to trade some of the others, but you can also remember like package players. So I would maybe try to package a player that you would have already kept with one of these guys for like an upgrade to that position. That's what I would try to do personally. But I wouldn't be heartbroken to have to cut Mason, Lloyd, or Tillman. Benson would be the only one that I would be real hesitant to just straight up offload. 10-team Superflex, tight end premium, need wide receiver advice. We start 3 with 2 flex. Wide receivers are Wilson, Jacoby Myers, Ayuk, Worthy, Kirk Godwin, Dell, Christian Watson, Michael Wilson. Had a lot of injuries and had to pick up replacements. Now I have too many mid wide receivers. Want to consolidate and get better guys. Who do I trade away and who do I target? You're going to have to give somebody with upside. Like, you're not going to be able to just package like Kirk and Jacoby and hope that works. So I think Worthy is going to have to be part of a package. Or Ayuk. One of those two guys, I think, is going to have to be a part of the package. Godwin, I think he's going too cheap right now, so I would rather hold him. So I would be looking at packaging either Wilson or Worthy or Ayuk, or honestly, maybe both if you have to try to get yourself can you get Drake London? Somebody like that, where you have a legitimate, like, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 type of guy. That's who I would probably be looking at. What are the worst realistic landing spots for the top 3 or 4 incoming rookie running backs? Ooh, what are the worst landing spots for these incoming guys? Ooh. I could see the Patriots taking somebody and it just being a mess because they still use Ramondre and they still use Antonio Gibson. And this guy just doesn't get, like, he has kind of like the Bijan rookie year where it's still a good year, but like, why was Algier so annoying? Like something like that. So I could see that being a possibility. I saw somebody mock this. I would be shocked. So I don't even know that I want to say it, but the Jets at 7 taking Ashton Genty. So now you have Genty and Breece Hall together. That would be gross. I would hate that so much. Oh, I would be so upset. So that's another one potentially there. Other bad landing spots. I could see the Ravens saying, like, we want to still have Henry this year, but we want somebody for the following year. So long term, you're excited about it because it's a good spot, but this year it would be absolutely painful. I could see that being a possibility as well. Other like nightmare scenarios that could actually happen. It's a good question. I could see the Dolphins. They're like, Devon Achane wasn't as efficient as we wanted him to be. We need somebody maybe more physical between the tackles. And then that is kind of gross. Even though it's like a good team. Yeah. So I think those are probably some of the worst scenarios I could think of that could potentially happen. Kyle, coming off a championship, I have 102 and 108. RB needy. Do I stay at 102 or do I look to move it? If somebody would say, I'll take 102 and 108 for 101, I would take it for Ashton Genty. Otherwise, I'm fine. I would probably just stay at 102 and 108, honestly. There's some really good running backs that could be in both of those spots. Why is your gap in terms of value over 2K points from Caleb to May? Is it a supporting case thing? Or I think you mean cast is what I'm guessing. So I actually have May ahead of Caleb. So I think the other guys on the staff would have it lower, and that's probably the case. They think, the new head coach for Caleb, some better assets. That's what I'm guessing. Speaking of Devon Achane, what's a fair price for him? I'm not even listening to offers until it's at least 2 firsts. Once you come to me with 2 legitimate firsts, now I will listen. But that's probably the best, or like the least I would take. ETN at RB7. Now I have not done ETN yet. But that's high. Is he this year's Braylon Allen, where it's just like, look, he's my boy. He's my boy, Blue. Ryan, coming off a championship and relatively young rest of the roster, what would be your strategy with Terry McLaurin? Trying to run it back with him next year or two, or move up in the rookie draft at 110 to get younger in a trade? Probably holding, unless you can get like a guy you really like. Like if you think you can get Tet McMillan, then I would do that. For 110 and Terry McLaurin, you'd have to get both, obviously. The rest of the receivers, I don't think any of them are that good to go up and get. Like at that point, I'd rather just wait till 110 and say, all right, who fell to me? Was it Emeka? Was it Burden? Was it Golden? Who's here? Who's the best available? I'd rather do that. Or trade 110 straight up for a receiver I like. We just talked about him. If Trey Benson was in this class, where would you rank him with the other running backs? Now, I'll give you with what I know now and with what I knew at the time. What I knew at the time, just on tape, not where he was drafted, not the re-signing of James Conner, none of that kind of stuff. He would have been running back. It would have been really close for him to either be running back 5 or 6, depending on how a couple grades shake out for me. It would have been, knowing his score last year and what I have this year, he would have either been 5 or 6, depending on how things shake out. The guys that are clearly ahead of him for me right now are Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson, Omarion Hampton, and Quinshon Judkins. All those guys would have easily been ahead of him for me. And Trey Benson was my number one guy for what it's worth. I have 9 RBs that I consider in the RB1 discussion for the 2024 class. There you go. There you go. I think that's fair. Vic, overall, I think he is a sell. We actually did an episode on him. The touchdown rate that he had this year is probably not sustainable. Probably not sustainable. But we'll see. We shall see. So Tristan, coming back to this, yeah, he said, not knowing right now, he would probably value him in the wide receiver 12 range or so. Okay. I think that's pretty fair. All right, guys. Well, appreciate all of you guys. I got to get out of here. I've got some other shows I've got to record, some things to do, but I'm going to say this right now. We have something in the works that is in the live content realm, but is different than anything we've done before. That will likely be starting in the month of March. I am extremely excited about it. It will benefit the Nerd Herd greatly, but you don't have to be a part of the Nerd Herd to take advantage. That's my little quick tease. Just throwing it out there. It is going to be awesome for the Nerd Herd. But even if you're not in the Nerd Herd, you can access it, and it's going to be dope. No Pokemon pools. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love some of the old school guys, although like some of the new ones, I have no idea who some of the newer ones are. But like, there are times that I even am like, man, I should go back and play Fire Red. That was great. That was a great game. But no, this is staying in our lane. It's still Dynasty fantasy football, but it's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be sweet, and it's gonna be more than just your boy. Your boy will be a part of it. It'll be more than just me. Stay tuned, my friends. Stay tuned. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day.